Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Maginative podcast. I'm coming to you live today from Google I/O 2025. It is an amazing day so far. So many announcements, so many updates from Google. And I have the pleasure and opportunity to sit down with Jeanine Banks. Jeanine is the VP and the GM of Developer X at Google. We're going to be talking about some of the announcements today, but I'm super excited to dive into Firebase Studio. Firebase Studio launched a couple months ago, and it has been a massive hit in the developer community, both among professional developers and freelancers. So I'm excited to talk to Jeanine about their vision for Firebase Studio, her background, and also the future of AI coding. Jeanine, thank you for sitting down with me.
Thank you so much, Chris, for having me. This is such a cool opportunity here at IO.
Janine, I often start these conversations with a question that I heard in another podcast.
Hmm.
What is one thing that people don't know about you that you'd like to share?
Okay, so what people don't know about me, I'm one of eight children.
Ah,
I come from a big family. My mother has several siblings. My dad had several siblings. And I grew up with one brother and six sisters. So you can imagine that household. And I'm originally from East New York, Brooklyn, in New York. So that was I was a rambunctious kid. That's probably another thing people don't know.
that is amazing. So let me ask you this on a personal level. How is AI touching your family? Do you see them using AI a lot? What tools and AI products do you see them gravitating towards the most?
Yeah, what's interesting is so first of all, I have four kids, three sons, one daughter. It's the reverse
Yeah.
of what I had, right? And it's interesting to see the kinds of tools that they use because it's much more immersed. AI is more immersed in the tools that they use, whether it's social or video creation apps. It's just built in. Whereas my husband and I think we're more closely following what's happening with AI models and how AI is being applied to different use cases. And so my husband, he's in sales.
Yeah.
He has become a developer in the past month thanks to Firebase Studio. Like he's literally building apps, I would say at least one a week.
Wow.
And
Wow.
he's using them to build for his work in his company. So I think it's really amazing to see the full spectrum from today's youth who are just using immersive tools with AI and then to those in industry creating really powerful tools for their work.
So let's talk about Firebase Studio. For listeners that may not know, can you just walk us through what Firebase Studio is and the vision behind a product like Firebase Studio for the developer community?
Absolutely. So, Firebase Studio is an agentic development environment. We call it a workspace in the cloud that helps developers to build their applications from start to finish. From the very beginning, when they're just imagining what kind of idea and coming up with a prompt to describe what they want to build, all the way through to developing it, coding it, and deploying and running it. It's a one stop shop for building great apps.
And there are two sides of Firebase Studio. I've had a chance to play around with it. You have that initial just conversational UI,
Mm.
but then you can actually get very technical. You can dive deep into your product development.
Yes.
What is the strategy and thinking behind that? Who is Firebase Studio for?
I love that question because, first of all, to answer who is Firebase Studio for, it's you can ask who is AI for,
Hmm.
and I think we would all agree it's for everyone.
Yeah.
And so, what we found that's happened over the past few years because of AI being so accessible to everyone and helpful is that for developers, it's expanding the definition of who is a developer.
Yeah.
And so if you're a professional, it's helping you to tap into deeper and greater productivity, helping you not have to do basic and simple tasks or boilerplate code and just really focus on more sophisticated problem solving and creativity. But if you're someone who doesn't know how to code and you're not doing software development for a profession, you can even get started, like you said, because you can use natural language, you can use visual imagery to prompt AI to help you create and bring your idea to life. And we see everyone across the spectrum from the professionals to the vibe coders doing exactly that.
Vibe coding is taking the internet by storm. Even when we go into enterprise companies, you have everyone asking about vibe coding and to see examples of it. What are some of the apps that you see people building the most so far with tools like Firebase Studio?
Yeah, I'm so inspired by what I see folks building. It's incredible because when we were first coming up with the idea for Firebase Studio, myself and a small group of folks who were trying to imagine what is the future of software development a few years ago. And we thought, okay, people will generate games, they will create simple tools, right? But because the models have gotten so powerful, you have Gemini 2.5 Pro
Yeah.
that can really just bring an entire concept to life in really powerful ways. Oh man, it's just changed the game of
Yeah.
what's possible. So, what's happening with what people are building with Firebase Studio are pretty sophisticated types of experiences. And oftentimes, there are business tools like CRM or ERP
Mm.
tools to help them. I've also seen a fair number of resume building and analysis apps. I've even seen health coaches and financial coaches being built with Firebase Studio. And the key thing here is that you're not just building any kind of applications with Firebase Studio. What's unique is that built right in is the ability to generate apps that leverage AI automatically.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
can build agentic apps with Firebase Studio. And it's like an
Mental.
agent building agents, right?
Yeah.
But it's true. And we see people doing that today.
What I absolutely love about tools like Firebase Studio is that you get the backend built in, unlike just the IDEs like Windsurf and
Mhm.
Cursor. And of course, Firebase has that history of providing the infrastructure. How do you see developers gravitating and adopting like the backend infrastructure to deploy their apps directly from Firebase Studio with the services that Google provides?
You just touched on such an important point, which is the history that we've had with Firebase. Really freed people up from having to think about and manage their own infrastructure and really be able to focus on the experience that they're going to provide their users. And so we've been able to power so many startups, so many companies that are engaging and providing really immersive and dynamic experiences for their users. And now this kind of takes it a step further because not only can I not have to think about too much of the infrastructure if I don't want to, but I can also not have to worry about like, how do I integrate AI into this application? I can prompt, I can generate this app, it can use Gemini, I can give it an API key, I can have it auto generate an API key for me. And now I can start to see my prototype come to life before I dig deeper. But the point you made earlier is also key because you can dig deeper. And
Yeah.
that's what's different about Firebase Studio is because you can also switch into what we call code mode and you can get an entire VM in the cloud, be able to work with your terminal. You can look at the entire project tree for your files, everything that was generated. You can go and modify it, edit it, and everything. You can get access to look at your previews, just so many things you can do. And of course, you can still interact and work collaboratively with Gemini as an agent to help you.
Okay, I love that. So let's unpack this for a developer listening in. Let's say you're in an enterprise. Where does Firebase fit into the bigger picture of the development workflow? So Google is providing, you have Project Jules, you have Gemini Code Assist, you have so many different surfaces as a developer that you can use, tools that you can integrate. Where do you see Firebase Studio fitting in, and how should developers be thinking about it?
Yes, absolutely. And those are really exciting tools.
Yes.
I'm using many of them myself. What we've seen over the past, let's say 5 years, is that when you would ask a developer, what kind of developer are you? Usually there was an answer like, I'm a front end developer, I'm a
Yes.
mobile developer, or even more specifically, I'm an Android or iOS developer, a back end developer, an API developer. Should I go on? And now, when you ask that question in 2025, the answer is more something like an AI developer, a full stack developer, or a full stack AI developer.
Mhm.
And it's really been this massive shift because now AI is enabling everyone to use more capabilities of AI models and build your entire application, literally the full stack.
Yeah.
And so the way we think about Firebase and specifically Firebase Studio is wait a minute, this is getting complex, right? If I'm bringing models in, I'm also working somewhat on the front end, I'm also doing some back end, I got to think about APIs, data. Whoa.
Yes.
It's a lot to learn, a lot to keep track of, and all of that is changing every day. So wouldn't it be great if there was an environment that lets me easily and intuitively work with the entire stack of my application, be able to pull it together, but also use best practices for structuring a project? Because this is gonna have to be managed, it's going to have to
Yes.
be maintained.
Yeah.
You want it to run and have good performance and reliability and quality. So we're thinking about those kind of key software development principles, but we're putting some abstraction over it so it's more approachable for really all kinds of developers and especially full stack AI developers.
I really appreciate that about Firebase because we've seen where some other vibe coding tools where security wasn't top of mind and people got in trouble. Apps got hacked. And so I love that for Firebase. You have best practices built in and that experience and history that Google brings to the table, developers can trust. And of course, the backend infrastructure. So absolutely love the product. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are going to enjoy it. If you haven't tried Firebase Studio, definitely head on over to Google's website. It's on the web, so it's super easy for you to get started, and you can't go wrong.
And I didn't tell him to say that. But you just said something really important in terms of security. And earlier you talked about the power of Firebase backend services and the experience we've had there for a long time. And so when we introduced Firebase Studio, we were really mindful about how easy do we want it to be for people to wire their backend into their apps just by building an app from prompting. And we intentionally wanted a little bit of friction there
Yes.
so that it forces you to do the right thing. Because if you just make it easy for people to go throw data into the cloud and put it into a database, but the database isn't protected, it doesn't have the right
Mhm.
security rules, oh no, it's
Yeah.
too easy to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And so we're really trying to do the right thing for developers. And that's why I'm really excited that here at Google I/O 2025, we just introduced the new capability that does allow developers with Firebase Studio to easily integrate Firebase backend services. So now when you are creating your prompt, if your prompt includes any suggestion of storing your data or needing a database or wanting to have or user authentication, now your app blueprint, which is the essentially a mini part PRD, you can think about it as, it'll include a new section of your stack for your backend. And we're starting with Firebase authentication and Firebase Firestore, but we see more options and more Firebase backend services becoming available.
It's going to make life so much easier for developers or even designers or historically non-technical users that want to build products or build services. Janine, I know we don't have much time, but there were so many updates from Google I/O today that were just amazing. What were some of your favorite? If you wanted somebody to just go and check out a couple of different tools, what would you tell them to go and check out right now?
Oh man, I'm really excited about Flow.
Oh,
Personally, well, my youngest son, he's 17 and he wants to go into film editing when he graduates and pursues his education, his higher education. And that's just something, a world I don't know anything about. But I think it's so important we can capture ideas and stories and memories into something really visual and immersive and interactive. I love that experience. I wish I could build those experiences. And with Flow, I guess now I can. So I think that's super cool. Also, today during the Google keynote, we saw a fantastic demo that showed two people using AR glasses to be able to speak in their native languages and still understand each other. And it's not just one word or one sentence, but really a conversation back and forth.
yeah.
I thought that was incredible. And personally, I love to travel. I've been to over 40 countries and it's been an incredible ride. I love adventure. I look at it that way. And so now if I could have those glasses when I'm on my travels and be able to communicate very seamlessly in a conversation and in the cultural settings that I'm visiting, I think that'll just make the experiences even more fantastic.
I agree. I watched the keynote, and my takeaway is the future is more magical than we could have ever expected. I think about my kids and the next generation, and I think of the opportunities that they will have to create, to ideate, to imagine. It's unbelievable what we're seeing. What is the future of AI development?
Wow.
What is the future of the developer? What do you think that?
Big question. Sometimes when we think about the future of something, we are focusing on what we think will change. So, what I like to do is think about what won't
Mm,
change.
I like that.
And so, as things are changing, but what doesn't what likely won't change. And when it comes to software development, I just truly believe that no matter how far we go and how transformative these technologies are and what we are able to build in the future, I know for me, I want those things to be secure. I want them to perform well. I want high quality. I want them to respect my privacy and all of those things. And so I think that in the future, this future of software development is going to continue to be critical that you can produce software and produce experiences that can account for all of those things. At the same time, AI is going to make the heavy lifting of some of the things that are repeatable, some of the things that we really shouldn't have to spend too much time on, really eliminating those things so that all of us are freed up or given superpowers to be able to focus on just imagining the impossible.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Janine, if I'm a student listening to this podcast, what would you recommend for them in terms of like diving into AI-based coding, Firebase Studio? How should they be thinking about their future?
Yeah, I love that question. It just reminds me when I was a student, when I was in secondary school, and I was fortunate to get an internship at a laboratory, Brookhaven National Laboratory or BNL, based in New York. If you're international outside the US, think of CERN, it's similar. And being able to have that internship and around some of the most renowned scientists in the world. And there I was given documentation, I was given servers to work with, and I was given freedom to learn on the task of building websites and building web pages. And that experience always stuck with me. And it really just gives me, it fuels the passion that I have for development and empowering developers today, because I think that's where it begins. It begins with how do you learn? How do you become self taught? How do you dig into the documentation that's available? How you get hands on with the tools? The team at Google, my team, they will tell you, I'm always using everything we build. Maybe I open a lot of bugs that need to be fixed, but hopefully that's not
That's
too
good.
much for the team. But I think that's really critical. The other thing is sharing. Community is so powerful. And as we're on this journey together, we're each going to pick up and learn different aspects. There's so many different tools. But when you bring those ideas together, people come together to share what they're learning and to build together. Oh my goodness. Just imagine what becomes possible that you can build. So that's what I would say. I think the future is bright. I think that it's going to empower today's students to be the builders of the future, the creators of the future. And I'm looking forward to what they build.
I am too. Janine, you are incredibly inspiring. What you have accomplished, you have given to the developer community, what your team has built with Firebase Studio is genuinely so impressive. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for the commitment that you have to the developer community. Thank you for sitting down with us. Imagine.
Thank you so much, Chris. Let's do it again sometime.
I'd love to. Until next time, everyone. One love.